Hi, everyone. Welcome to ClickLearn Level Up, one of our first live sessions of 2026. We just want to thank every person who's attending in person. We really appreciate you hopping on. And we're so excited to dive into our content that we've spent quite a bit of time curating for you, for those who have joined. We're splitting up today's session into two main topics. The first one is 5-minute wins. And who we're really speaking to in this session is project admins and project leads, so those concerned with how high quality the content is for your end users during heavy change management periods, for your end users learning CRM or ERP platforms. So our goal is to really honor your time and show you a couple configurations that take a couple of minutes and make a big impact on end user content. The second half of the session, we're going to be highlighting some of our favorite features from 2025. ClickLearn has releases every 6 weeks, so if you haven't been able to keep up with that, no worries there. We're going to roll up the best of the best that our clients have been having a ton of success with so that you can take advantage of that too. Before we get into some more of the details, my name's Catherine Hanlon. I'm one of ClickLearn's US-based CSMs supporting our Canada and US customers. I am based in Tampa, Florida, and I've been with ClickLearn for about 10 months now, so coming up on a year. Jenna, I'll pass it over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Catherine. My name is Jenna. I'm a customer success manager here at ClickLearn as well. I've been with the company for about 4 years now, and I am based in our Copenhagen, Denmark office. So joining in the evening here, and happy to be a part of this session and to go through the quick wins that we found and our favorite features from the tool. So really looking forward to diving in. I'll hand it over to Morten.
Hello, my name is Morten. I've been with ClickLearn for 8 years in a few weeks, so a long time veteran here. Been with ClickLearn through thick and thin, so I'm happy to be here as well. I'm also based out of the Copenhagen office here in Denmark, so it's evening here, and looking forward to having this awesome session with you all.
Awesome. One of the reasons that we do Level Up Lives is to use our chat feature. We really want to hear from you, questions that you have as we're going through topics as they come up. So please feel free to use the chat. It's one of the best aspects of the way we do this live. So don't be shy, post your comments immediately as you have them, and we'll be monitoring those throughout the session to make sure that we address those questions as they come up. It can be sometimes one of the most valuable parts of these lives, so please feel free to use that. To get us warmed up in the chat, we're going to do a quick question for those of you who are tuning in. Let's see, on a scale of 1 to 10, how cold is it where you're tuning in from? Let's say 1 is super warm and 10 is like frigid cold. So if you're live attending, if you want to put a number between 1 and 10 representing the temperature where you are, that'll give us a sense of where you're tuning in from. Jenna, Morten,
Nice.
What would you rank Denmark right now?
It is pretty cold here today, so I think I'm giving it, is 0 cold or 0?
10 is cold.
10 is cold. I'm going to give it a 9 because it is minus 11 Celsius and like 12 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think that this chat is just their colleagues or the learners or the end users that they're showing this content to. So the first one I'm going to jump into, I'm just looking at ClickLearn Attain here now from the author's perspective, which many of you watching this session are probably familiar with. I'm going to jump into the settings area here, And I'm going to go to publishing template. And if you've not really spent some time in this area, there's a ton of features and functionalities tucked away in here. So definitely check it out a little bit. Ask your customer success manager or your implementation specialist or the support person you're talking with about what that you can do in here, because there's quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and go to this drop-down list here, which is a bit small, a little hidden away, and I'm going to go first to this videos area. And my first 5-minute win is simply enabling our new video player. The new video player has a lot of updates, modernization, and like new functionalities to it. So it's really worthwhile. This is included in anyone's license that has video capabilities, which is virtually everyone. So it's something that's applicable for almost everyone watching, I believe. And all you need to do is come into this appearance tab, and then under the skin, you can simply select new video player. If you have default, that's the automatic selection. That's the video player that we've had for as long as I've been at ClickLearn, so a long time. And then our new video player here, I will show you in a published project just so you can get a sense of what this looks like. And if you just bear with me 1 second, I'm going to switch my audio so you can actually hear my screen. And I'm just going to get my video loaded up here first. Sorry about that. So I'll talk to you about this and then I'll play the sound if that sounds good. But essentially, the new video player, it's got a lot of new functionalities in terms of the playback speed, so you can make it faster or slower. The subtitles that appear are reactive, so they do move around the screen a bit. People have talked before that the subtitles were too big or they blocked a part of the screen. So that's a big upgrade as well. You can skip ahead really easily to different sections of your recording. And if you go here to view chapters, this is probably, in my experience, the most requested thing about our video player. So anytime you've used like a section or a heading to divide up your processes, when you're editing them, it will create like a new kind of bookmark in the video that you can easily skip ahead to, because oftentimes people don't need the full shebang. They just want to jump to the part that they need some help with. So that makes it really easier. And then, of course, you can see it's just a lot more modern looking here. And I will quickly switch my audio for 1 second so you can hear the digital voice here.
Update account details. Welcome to our guide about editing account information. This is very helpful for when you need to change things like account names, addresses, or phone numbers.
All right, so I'm not going to let that play for too long, but I hope that the digital voice could come through there. And yeah, you could just see the player works much in the same way. But yeah, it just has a really nice look and feel to it. And just for comparison, I'm going to show you the previous video player, which many of you might have right now. Still great, but you could see it's a little bit more fewer functionalities in it and a bit of a like older look and feel. But still great. But many people are pretty excited by switching over to this one. And just to enable it again, it's just enabling new here, save changes, and then whenever you republish your project, this new video player will be applied to all videos, all recordings you have retroactively and moving forward in that project. So really easy switch to Flick in order to get a pretty big impact for your end users. The next one that I am going to show you is about grouping your keyboard steps. So again, I will show you an example of what this looks like because it's a bit hard out of context, but first I'm going to show you where it is. Again, we are staying in this publishing template area. I'm going to move into the recording tab here. And I'm just going to go to this step here. that says keyboard. And all I'm going to do is switch on this, combine the steps into one. So what it looks like out of the box when you don't have this enabled, I'm just going to jump over here and take a look at my recording. And it basically is used just to make things more concise. So when I have any sort of step here, I'll find an example. So clicking on the text field phone or account name, whatever it might be, and then entering some text there. Those are always two actions, like clicking in the field and entering the keyboard, even though it doesn't really feel like one. They really feel like, the same activity. But when you enable that grouping keyboard steps, it will turn any step like this into one. So if you think about all of your processes and all of your projects, there's probably hundreds, maybe thousands of clicks where it's, clicking on a form entry, typing something in. So the reason that I get so excited about this one, I know maybe it doesn't sound that crazy out of the box, but it will make your documentation more concise for your end users. It's going to save them time. And once you actually have it enabled, you can see like the direct impact that, all of your recordings suddenly become that much shorter. And in general, concise documentation really is the way to go. That's what people typically like to have. So to have it short and sweet. So when I have that enabled, again, I can just show you an example here. So when that setting is enabled, all of a sudden clicking on the text field phone and entering the phone number, it just becomes one. So on a big scale, it's quite an impactful change. And I just recommend everyone to turn that on if they find it useful as well. Of course, it's subjective again. The last one I'm going to show you in the publishing template area is a pretty simple one, but probably the most important in a way, because I talk to clients very frequently that don't realize they can do this. But essentially, when you come into this area, by default, it just has some light blue colors, a ClickLearn logo, but you can actually put in your own company's logos here. So your learning portal matches the branding look and feel of everything else inside of your organization. And it's just in this, portal main page. It's the first thing you'll see when you come to this publishing template. And you can simply upload your own logo here, like so. I've just added in like a basic one here. Let me see. Good old Acme logo. And then you can also put in, your company color, or you can select it from a color drop, whatever it might be. And just those like two small changes, there's a ton other ones you can do, be aware. But those two small ones really go a long way, because, we love the brand awareness if you choose to publish with the ClickLearn logo there too. But I think it's a really nice quick win for your colleagues and for yourself, that your portal will match the rest of like the ecosystem that people are used to seeing within an organization. So those two changes can really quickly just make everything more cohesive. So I always recommend that when I see people having to switch that on. So with those ones in mind, I am going to hand it over to Catherine, who has a few of her own to show you.
Jenna, before you do that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a question in the chat, which is, it's from Okpara, and he or she asks, how can you download the recordings as videos?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. So there's a couple options here. The first one that I would want to know if we were talking in a call together was just what your vision was for downloading the videos. So we do have, in this same drop-down list conveniently, you have an option to make a learning management system package called a SCORM package. So if you use a learning management system, and the reason you're asking that question is because you want to have your videos on your learning management system and all your other content, that is the way that I would recommend it. Another option here is there's this setting here called Windows Video, and probably be more aptly named like just MP4 file, but you can enable that and you will get MP4 formats of the show me video only. This is only available in some license editions in ClickLearn. So if you aren't able to use that functionality, I think you actually get a pop-up that says like to talk to your rep at ClickLearn. So that's one way you can find out if it will work for you. But essentially, those are the two options I have. I don't know, Morten, do you have another thing to suggest?
Well, it depends what your purpose is, right? Typically, when people say I want to download the videos, it's to download an old-fashioned, non-interactive video, which is just quote unquote a stupid video that's playing with subtitles and all that. And that would be the MP4 file, right? So you could either produce locally, if you just want all the video files locally, or if you want the ones you've already published to the cloud, you can just download the whole portal. Or if you just want a single video, you can go to the portal, find it, and then grab it, right? Usually people would like these files either for offline use, or if they want to put it on their own YouTube channel or another internal video hosting platform that requires such a format like MP4.
Nice. Awesome. Good question. Thank you for being the first one to send one in. All right. I'll go back to you, Catherine.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pick us up where we left off and share my screen. I do want to say, Jenna, I wish I had emojis to react while you were presenting, because every single feature that you shared was so amazing, and I really truly hope everybody watching who finds value in it implements it quickly, because they are very, very powerful and low effort. All right, so kind of piggybacking off of the first one that Jenna shared, which was the video player. When we put ourselves in the state of the end user who's actually taking this training, like a new hire who's coming on board to your organization for the first time, or somebody who's learning a new system, there can be a ton of content to consume. And when video is part of that, the voice that's selected really matters. Imagine, you had to watch or got to watch 16 videos, and those all were 3 minutes apiece. That's about 45 minutes of listening to the same teacher or instructor through video. And so something that we don't always talk about a lot at ClickLearn is that you actually have control over the voice that narrates your video content. Anytime you partner with ClickLearn, we're going to, slap a default voice on there to get you started. But one of the really cool benefits and 5-minute wins we're going to go over today is that you can actually listen to hundreds of voices in ClickLearn and choose the one that's really representative of your brand the most. We do have a list for our top 10 languages, male and female voice that we would recommend, that we're going to post in the chat for you, just to shorten that process for you if you want to take a look at some of our best voices. And the criteria that we use for that list is that the voices are crisp, clear, they have a natural pace, they sound very human. Our goal is to give you voice recommendations that sound like somebody at your organization could have done the voiceover, and that it's not a neural voice. So if we want to post those in the chat, that would be awesome, so our viewers can check those out if they haven't already played around. But I'm going to go ahead and share a couple of our favorites. I'm going to share 2. And the second voice, you'll notice there should be a breath in between sentences. And that's really where the human aspect comes into play for some of these voices. So we'll go ahead and share that here.
Hi, I am a digital voice. I will be used as narrator in all the material you produce with ClickLearn.
Hola, soy una voz digital y se utilizará como narrador en todo el material que usted produce con ClickLearn.
All right, so hopefully that audio came through. The first voice is Jessica. She's one of the voices we recommend for English US most often. That was also what Jenna played on her first video. Very crisp, very natural sounding, very casual. The second is Alice for Spanish, and this isn't the only one we'd recommend, but she does have that breath in between sentences, which gives a very human sound. And it really makes it seem like you put a lot of effort into the training content that you're putting out for your organization, sometimes just by changing the voice that you're using. To implement this change, we would first recommend that you Change the voice here after you've had a chance to play a few and find one that you really like. Save the change and then go back to your recordings and watch maybe 3 to 5 all the way through, just to make sure that the voice sounds really, really good with your terms, with the way that you structure your content before committing. What we will say is we do partner with several voice vendors, so we don't actually host that here. We have outside partners for that, and there are some voices that handle words a little bit funky, so you're going to want to listen to them first to make sure that it's a good fit, and choose the voice that sounds the best for your content. If you do choose to make this change, you're going to hit Save Changes, and then you're going to want to republish your content, and this again will retroactively update the voice for all of your video content and then also be the voice moving forward. So it's a really quick win once you decide on the voice that's the right fit for you. All right, and then moving into our next 5-minute win. This doesn't come up all the time, but it's something that's really good to know when you need it. ClickLearn's voices handle acronyms very well, punctuation very well, most words very, very well. When it comes to acronyms special to your business, though, or terms that are pronounced a certain way, you might want to give our speech editor a visit. And this is when you have a preference for the way something is expressed by our video voices. You'll notice here every project comes with some preset speech transformations. So that means whenever you use the word NO dot in your instructions, the voice is going to read it as number, which is ideal in this situation. Other things like a number in a parentheses, you obviously don't want that to be parentheses 3 parentheses. You would just want that to be 3. So this is where you can actually control some of the things that are expressed in your documentation where they should look a certain way, and then defining how it should sound. Again, it doesn't come up super often, but you're going to want to know about it when the use case comes up. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to demonstrate one live, so I'm going to add a new text-to-speech transformation. And in this example, I'm going to use WOM, and I want that to be read as word of mouth. And then I'm going to go ahead and change my audio settings so we can give it a listen.
The original text is pronounced as "biwomi," and the transformed text as word of mouth.
Nice.
All right, so that was an interesting beginning state. And that's a great example of when we might want to add a speech transformation in for how something is said. This also can be if you're very particular about the way words are pronounced. You can get really, really granular with this so that there's a greater emphasis on one part of the word rather than the other. One of the beauties of ClickLearn is that it's efficient, it's fast, it's automatic. So we don't recommend going too painstaking with this, but the option is there if it's really, really important to your business. All right. So I think it's over to you, Morten. Or I'm sorry, back to you, Jenna.
Wait, I would like to add something to the voices.
Sure.
There are some voices where if you ask them to pronounce a word in a certain way, they just won't do it. And that's not because there's something wrong with the way you typed it or anything like that. It's unfortunately just a limitation of the chosen voice. So if you have an issue with a word that you really want to fix up, you may want to just try another voice. Once you've exhausted the option of typing in different ways and stuff, right? So the way that the voices work is that they're sending basically the instruction text to us, and then we send you back an MP3 file from the voice that you prefer. But we don't have much control beyond the breadth, the speed, and the voice type, right? So yeah, that's it.
Great ad.
Nice. Awesome. Perfect. And then I just had one more. We had actually a question in the chat as well. It was about how you do exactly what you just had showed, Catherine. So it was very on point. And then I just have one more 5-minute win before we will hand it over to Morten to talk about our favorite features from 2025. So I'm just going to share my screen here, and I am going to carry on in the same topic as Catherine. So I'm going to go into our language settings here. And basically what I'm going to do is talk about how we can make our content available in more languages to support more of your team if you have like a global organization, which many people do nowadays. And I'm going to talk about the scenario where maybe we have a business language of, could be any language. I'll pick English because that's relevant for our audience today. But maybe you have a business language of English, and then you might also have some colleagues in smaller teams all over the world. Maybe they're still using all of the business systems in English or in the primary language for your company. And that's fine. But something you can do to make everything, top tier training material, top tier learning material, is that you can support your users in their native language. And the way that you can do that, I'm going to show you now, is by using our localization functionality. I'm not talking about the full like translation functionality, which is called replay for those of you who might be familiar with it. So that has to do with recapturing the screenshots from your documentation. But this is just for a scenario where we're all using the system in a main language, primary language, but we could translate the text just to have a bit of a mix and match and best support your team globally. So I'm just going to consider the scenario here where maybe English is my primary language. That's what I'm using my CRM or ERP system in. And I'm going to maybe have a team in France, and I just want to make this content quickly available to them because we are in the quick wins topic. So what I'm doing is I've added French in here, and I'm going to go to this 3-dot menu, and I'm going to say I want this documentation to have a French component, but it's still based on a system where the user interface language is maybe not French. So I'm going to mix and match it. So in this case, English. And what that's going to do when I save that setting in place, I'm going to go look at my recording here. And I'm just going to open up an editor view. But we can basically see I've added in my 4th language here of French. And we can see our screenshots here are still in English, still matching what your French colleagues in this case are seeing in the system. But my text is in French, with the exception of the words that come directly from the user interface of my system here. So this would be a quick win to, really lift up that content and make it even more, I don't know if it's accessible is the right word, but palatable for your wider team, if that's relevant for your organization. It can also be used, sometimes you bring in a small consulting group from a different location or things like that, where maybe you need to onboard them to the system quickly. This is a great way to make that available. In this case, all you need to do is for the text that you've manually added as an author to get that text translated into French or into whatever language it would be to head into this localization tab. And here you can see exactly, what text needs to be translated, and you can run that translation automatically. So it's just a matter of clicking auto translate, and it's going to run through like so. And if you have a native speaker on the team, this is, machine translation. It's pretty good, but you can have them come in and, spice it up, maybe use more native natural speaking. But this is a great, option. A lot of people aren't aware that they can, have sort of I'll call it like an entry-level translation available. And I get it. It is a bit tucked away here that you can, mix the language with the UI language in the screenshots. So I always like to mention that, and it's good to know that it's there even if you don't have a direct use case for it today. So that was my last of the 5-minute wins. I'm going to hand it over to Morten to talk about our favorite new functionalities.
Thank you very much, Jenna. This is not going to be a 5-minute win. It's more like a 25-minute win, if you will. And what I'd like to show is that we now have support for multi-language UXP. which we're very excited about. And just to show you what user UXP is, it's basically a what's it called, a digital adoption module that you add as an extension in your browser that then works with your ERP system to present relevant work instructions. You have chats, notifications, you have onboarding tours, you have all kinds of cool stuff, YouTube integrations, all kinds of cool things. But just to show you that it works in multi-language, come down here to your accounts, and then my UXP will suggest to me how to edit the account information because that traverses the account form page. So I'll click on that, and I can either choose to watch a video, or I can click on the assist, which will then give me some info about what's going to happen, and then it will take me through what I need to click on live on my system, right? So go to accounts and so on. So what we made available a few months back is the ability to use multi-language. So if I go in here and switch to Spanish, and unfortunately CRM takes a while to load, so we'll have to just wait for that. There's nothing I can do about it. That's just the CRM for you. But yeah, that is what it is. Another thing that the UXP makes easy is the whole managing of your deployment. It can be managed by your IT team, so they push it out. Furthermore, you can map it to user roles with an intelligent segmentation feature. So once you segmented all your different content, you can map it to different user roles in your system as well, which is super awesome. That's something we'll be able to go through today, but we do have videos and instructions on how to do that. So I'm going to switch to Spanish because I know that we have this this specific UXP deployment available in Spanish as well. So I'll go back to accounts here, and then we'll click on UXP. And now we can see indeed that it says Casa, Habla, and Notificaciones up here. And here it says edit account information. So now you can see that everything is in Spanish. And today I'll just click on the video here. I don't know if you can hear the sound, but you can see that it's a Spanish video that will play. So I will stop the video there, just to show you that it's working. And yeah, super awesome. Honestly, I'm really happy that we're able to present it in multi-language. It opens up a lot of possibilities for a lot of our customers, being you. So let me just switch back to English down here, and I'll save changes. So how do I do this? Let me just show you. So firstly, I'll just disable our extension here. You don't need to do that. I'm just doing it out of habit. Okay. Come into ClickLearn, and we'll just make a new project. So we'll take it all the way from scratch, all right? I'll take content projects, and we'll be using CE for this one. And let's use English and French. That's just fine by me. Next. So, now that I've created my project, I'm going to make a new recording. And I'll call it how to create a customer. Or I think it's called contact in CRM. Let's call it that. For the first step of my instructions, I like to navigate home, or in other ways, just something that lets the user execute the assist. You saw that I executed the assist earlier, to do that from anywhere, right? Because if you're deep inside an instruction and you suddenly want help with something, it's nice to be able to start it from anywhere in your system, and then it will take you through where you need to go, right? So kind of have a full navigation path as part of it. I'll click on New here. We'll create a contact called Jennifer Jameson, and I think that's all we need. I'll click on Save. And I'll just click back to contacts. And to give the user an idea that, hey, I created her. And I'll just go home again. And that's it. Stop the recording. So, in order to replay this, I will need to change some things. And what I need to change is the input, because I know that my system, being CRM, if I try to create a contact by the same name, CRM gets very unhappy. It asks me if I want to merge them, and I didn't tell ClickLearn what to do if it asks me to merge, so it will basically fail, right? Because no one told me what to do with that. I would also fail if you told me to do something and then something else happened that what I expected. So I'll create another character. I was about to say another name here, which is French. So we'll have it create Jacques Dupont, and that's it. We're good to go. Save changes, and let's replay this in French. So I'll click on replay and click French, next, and then before I start, I should change my system language. I'll just pause this here. I could also have changed it first. I mean, the order is up to you. I'll select French. All right, we're good. So I will just click on play, and I'll let go of my mouse and keyboard, and should take us home. We'll see.
Nice. So he's showing the replay functionality that I briefly mentioned that can be used for translation purposes, like we're seeing now, or for the purpose of your system has gone through an update or several updates since you originally made the recording. For those of you who maybe haven't seen it before.
Exactly. Thank you, Jennifer.
Very, very cool.
And it's basically, again, if I can jump in with my thoughts that come to me, it's basically looking for the backend object ID of each field, and that's captured when you make your recording the first time. So of course it's getting the screenshot, but it's also getting that backend technical name. So that's like the behind the scenes mechanics of how ClickLearn is able to do this, despite the fact that the system is now in French, and maybe the order of things have changed as well, because maybe things are ordered alphabetically, things like that. So it's not looking for a graphical location, it's just looking for that technical backend name, which remains unchanged despite a UI language change.
Exactly. Thank you for that, Jenna. So I'll go back to structure here, and I'm going to drag in my contacts. The reason I'm making a structure is because I'm not allowed to create a UXP configuration without a structure. So that's it. Before we do that, though, I want to make a do localization. So we have the title. Okay. So I'll just click on Start Translating. And I will just click on Structure. And then we have the title of the recording, right? I'll click on Auto Translate. Only missing. Translate. And there we go. be good. If I run the analyzer, it should be all green. There we go. It's ready. Now I will enable the UXP. For that, I'll click on Settings, come down to Publishing Template, go to Portal, and then we will, go to Entity, and then you will add the User Experience panel down here, and click on Save. And for you people using IFS, the User Adoption Sensor is the same thing. It's just another name. Now I have my UXP button here. I'll click on it. It'll ask me if I want to create a default config, and I'll just say yes because it makes it easier. Then you have a base that you can then modify, right? So when you come into tab configuration, you can see I have home, chat, notifications, and so on. And that's fine in English. I'm happy. I'll go into French here. Click on Create Profile. I'll just copy the English one. And then I can rename everything, right? So home, I would rename to something French. And for any of you who speaks French, I'm terribly sorry that I'm not using the correct words. I'm just using what I think what I think is correct. And I know that it's not. My apologies, but I'll do my best. Okay, it's just a concept. Okay. So we got à la maison, chat, and annoncer. So basically that's it. Now we have a French layer. If I had, let's say I had custom chat assistants here, I could also customize those to have French names, use French predefined questions and all this kind of stuff. And the same for my announcements. They could also be in French and so on. But that's basically it. That is how fast you can enable it multi-language. And as you saw when we switched between the languages in CRM, ClickLearn or the UXP automatically switched to the correct language that we published, right? So all I really would have to do in theory would be to just publish both my languages, and that would be it. You know, that would then be ready to go.
Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'd like to just show you one more thing, and just wait for ClickLearn for a sec. Let me think. How did I do this? If you are mapping, let's say you're mapping, I have some PDFs in this one, okay? These I can also map to specific languages. So I actually named it DE and EN just to make it easy for myself. But if I didn't do that, I would of course might have an issue knowing what's what. So mapping also makes it super awesome in the sense that I can say that the payroll numbers in its translated form, it's a PDF I added, it's then only available in German, and maternity benefits in its translated form is only available in German as well, for example. And yeah, you can do that for all assets, all recordings, you can do it for everything, okay? So yeah, and of course, it also goes for the chat, like I said, if you have specific chat agents added, that also goes for your other languages. I don't remember if I did them here, but I did. Manager AI spreche and Mitarbeiter spreche. Yeah. So everything has been translated, and it's you know it's language dependent now. So also, if you do choose to use the segmentation on your structure, like let's say I only want this to be available in one language, the UXP would take that into consideration when you publish your content, right? Then even though you would have a multi-layered and multi-tiered structure depending on the language, as well as your segmentation if you're going that route as well, right? That's when you do the role mapping, okay? That we talked about earlier. So you can really go super deep down in terms of how to do the localization of the UXP. That was my 25-minute bit done in 15. So back to you guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. That was so awesome to see that end to end, Morton, and it was so fast. So great job. If you are tuning in and multi-language is like an advanced step and you haven't rolled out the UXP in English yet, we have some really good resources on how to set your base for UXP as well, to do before, considering the multi-language piece too. So we have tons of resources for you if this is what your beak and you want to consider rolling this out internally. I am going to go ahead and share my screen and bring us home with 2 additional features building on what Morton shared in the user experience panel. These aren't necessarily multi-language specific. These are features that are part of the user experience panel that could be rolled out just for English if that's the way you have it set up, and also impact multi-language if that's how you have set it up as well. One of the features that is getting a lot of attention lately is the ability to push out system-wide notifications through the user experience panel to your user base. So if my screen is up, which I hope it is, we are looking at what we call an intrusive notification that was set up by an admin in the user experience panel inside of ClickLearn, and it's pushed out to the CRM, or it could be your ERP, depending on what platform you are working in. But essentially, it's a really awesome way to speak to all of your end users in a platform. It doesn't have to do with ClickLearn necessarily. It could be about system downtime if that's the case and you want to let all users know. It could be about a new release that's coming up that might be a little shaky and might impact some users' work, so you want to communicate that so there's not chaos if something goes down. It could also be ClickLearn specific. So if you have some new content added to your user experience panel that's been highly requested, you can push out a notification to let users know that. You can really use these for any number of use cases, and they're very easy to set up. We have, like I said, intrusive, which requires the user to acknowledge it, to clear it before they can actually move around in platform. We also have subtle notifications that are a little less in your face, which might be a good option depending on how severe the message is. But to show how to set this up, I'm going to go ahead into ClickLearn, sort of picking up where Morton was. So obviously a prerequisite for this is you need to have user experience panel part of your package. It needs to be enabled and it needs to be rolled out. And then how you can get to notifications is going into this user experience panel configuration icon here on the left. Once inside, it's actually pretty straightforward. You're going to click on all notifications. And we have a couple already live, so I'm going to go ahead and just show creating one from scratch. Here we have intrusive, which is that like masking over top the entire application. We have subtle pop-up, which is to the side, and then we have sidebar as well. I'm going to click intrusive just for our example today. And then once that pops up, we're going to be prompted to give it a title. This is really great to kind of alert very quickly what this is about. So I'm going to say new content available. In here, we could add a little bit more of a description. So we might say, leads content is now available. Check the UXP to find out how to create one. If we scroll down, we have a couple other options. We can give it a category. So if it is site maintenance, you can label it that way. You don't have, this category isn't super important, but you can add it there if you want to. This is where we'll tie it into what Morton was sharing. So if you want this to be for English and that's the only language you have, you'll leave it as ENUS. If you wanted to roll out a notification for English, Spanish, and German, because that's the multi-language setup you have for your UXP, you would want to create 3 different system notifications with each translated and then each one set up accordingly. So this one would be the English. We would set up another one for Spanish, mirroring the content just translated, and then a third one in German set to German. Another setting I really want to highlight is show only once per user. So we can schedule this to go out live immediately with no end date until somebody manually shuts it off. And we can also schedule it so it only shows for a certain custom date range period, which I'll show in a second. If you don't want the notification to keep on appearing for the user and you want it to be where once they acknowledge it, then it doesn't show, which is honestly a really good practice. I recommend using show only once per end user so that way everybody sees it, but they only see it one time. Next,
Nice.
we'll go, yeah. We'll go into triggers, and this is where, again, what Morten was saying, if your content is segmented in ClickLearn in your project now, where you have some content that shows for the finance team, some content that shows for HR, it's not everybody sees everything, but it's segmented. You can also set notifications to go out to certain segments, which is a really great way to give tailored communication to your segments if that's the setup that you have. All right, and then scheduling, again, we get a lot of questions about this. Do I have control over when this message shows? Yes, you do. So you could say set live and it would just run, or you can add a custom date and time and have this scheduled to go out on the 20th of February, for example, if that's when, the release is relevant. And then you can save that, and then it will actually, let me go ahead and explicitly set this. Nice, so it's going to go out on the 20th, it's going to end on the 25th, and that way you have it set up in advance, but you don't actually have to go in on the date and remember to do it. You can do it ahead of time. And you do not need to republish your project for notifications. They're going to go out immediately, so as soon as you set it up, depending on the date it's supposed to go out or the time, it will go out into your system. So really, really efficient way to communicate with end users. And again, it doesn't have to be ClickLearn specific. All right, I'm going to move on to our last setting in the UXP that I definitely think is worth considering. So in the user experience panel, we have all of these lovely ways of learning that Morten demonstrated earlier. One of them being video, one of them being a step-by-step guide, and then our third option being assist. And assist is actually going to highlight buttons as they come up and walk the user through each thing. So I'm on accounts. What's pulled up is everything that was created in ClickLearn relating to accounts. So it's a very smart in-app help responding to where the user is in-app to make recommendations that make sense. If I were to click create an account, so let's say I want to learn more about this process. If I click assist, this is going to actually literally walk me through step by step what I need to do. And this is very, very helpful for new hires or new processes that are coming out. What is worth noting here is that if you're going to do the assist, your content really needs to be worked through with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that every step is sequential, that there weren't any mistakes made, and also if it was recorded in UAT, that any data selections that are part of the process are generalized so that it works on production for your end users. It is totally worth doing, in my opinion, but you do need somebody who's willing to own that process to make this a value add and not a distraction for your end users. So if you have that resource, I recommend rolling it out with Assist. If you don't, there is a light version of Assist that you can roll out to still get the benefit of that context-sensitive help, the videos and the step-by-step guides, without exhausting your resources and perfecting the content for Assist. And where you would do that is actually very easy. I would call this more like a 5-minute win, actually. But if you come into settings, we are going to go into publishing template. And then in the entity dropdown, we're going to select UXP. And anytime we select a label here, it's going to change our options on the right where we can tweak things about that particular page or setting. So I'm going to go to advanced, and in advanced we have the option to hide assist. If I have that selected, save and republish, the user experience panel will be exactly the same, just the assist button won't be visible. So users will be able to watch the video, they'll be able to see the step-by-step guides, but they won't be able to click that assist button. And again, that's a really good option if you want to do a slow roll of the UXP and maybe get to working through the content to ensure assist works flawlessly at a later time. So 10 out of 10 recommend that one. If you have or wanted to roll out the UXP, it's a huge value to bring that content closer to users and have it be very sensitive to where they are. All right, I think that wraps up our session.
Awesome.
There's a question in the chat. I can take it.
Perfect.
Can you display my screen? Amazing. So the question is, I'm just cutting into it here. There are some external PDFs you'd like to display with our ClickLearn content. How is the best way to get them visible in the structure? So If you're using the UXP, of course, you can just bake them in like you saw I did. But if you have a totally quote unquote normal publishing project with no UXP or anything like that, you can just go to assets, and you can then add your PDFs in here. I made a folder called PDF, and then just dump my PDFs in here. You then come to structure, and you can go to down here we have recordings. You also have assets, okay? And in assets, you could just either add the whole folder, or you can open this one up and you can just add them one at a time, right? So let's say I want to add this one here. I'll just drag it in. This one I only want it in German, right? So we can even filter it here. And the same for English. Let's take this maternity leave thing and then say, okay, that's not for German. So that's basically how it works. If I was to switch to German, you would see this one light up, right? So now this one is unavailable. So that's basically how it works. Then they are then available on the structure, and you can also choose how they're going to be open. Yeah. So they open a new tab, new window, or you can embed them. You can try to embed some of your stuff, but if you're using, I know we're talking about PDFs, that's fine. But if you're embedding videos or very big images, you may want to, check that it looks good on a regular sized monitor, what you would expect people to use, right? So I'll be a little bit wary about that. But yeah, that's basically how you can do it. Yeah, it's easy.
Thanks for that, Morten.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up?
No, I was just going to say, we have a lot of good resources. So if you're interested in learning a bit more about anything that you've seen today, or it's provoked some other questions, definitely reach out to us. A couple places I would point you to is we have our community, which I have sent the link to in the chat. That's where you can have a nice peer-to-peer exchange. You can watch the replay of a session like this or previous events. So you can really interact with other people out there all over the world who are using ClickLearn. We also have a ClickLearn universe. I'll post the link to that for a second. That's where you can do all of our online training modules. So you have kind of 24/7 access to deep dives into all of our functionalities. And then lastly, I would encourage you to reach out to your contact at ClickLearn. If you don't know where to start, support at clicklearn.com is a great place. I'm posting just that in the chat now as we speak, and they will point you in the right direction. So we're very much here to help, and thank you guys so much for joining in our session today, and thank you, Catherine and Morten. I learned a few things too, so it was really, I hope it was helpful for everybody. Thank you, and have a great day or afternoon, evening.
Thank you, everyone.